For those of you who don't know me, my name is Beth. I am the content creator at sublimelyfit.com. I am a registered yoga teacher, and I'm also a certified running coach, which is why I'm on tonight chatting through tonight's topic. So yoga for runners is a huge passion area for me. Obviously, it's actually the reason why I went to yoga teacher training, is to get trained in yoga so I could teach yoga to runners. I'm so excited to get on tonight's and talk about great IT band stretches for runners. It's something that I get asked about all the time because as runners, we know our IT bands get super tight. So I am excited to go through 5 really great IT band stretches with you tonight. So the first pose I want to show you guys that's great, that's a great IT band stretch for runners, is a version of a revolved hand to big toe pose. For that, I'm going to grab my yoga strap and keep my block handy. If you don't have yoga props, if you're going to be practicing yoga, strongly consider purchasing some. They're going to be a big help. So if you don't have a yoga strap, you can always take like a towel, even it's cold out, a scarf, a belt, something like that, just something to help make your leg a little more accessible. What I'm going to do is lie on my back. I'm going to bring my knee into my chest, taking the strap around my foot, and then I'm going to allow my foot to fall across my body. I'm going to tee out my opposite arm to help balance. I'm pressing my shoulders into the mat, pressing my hips into the mat, and I'm allowing my foot to just fall to where it naturally wants to kind of stop, where I feel resistance. And now I'm feeling a nice strong stretch through the outside of my leg and opening here. So this would be a version of, say, if you're flexible enough, you could grab your big toe. For me, that's a little bit more of a stretch than feels comfortable. So I'm just letting the leg fall to the side, and again, just allowing that to open through the side of my leg. And then hold for a few seconds, maybe 3 to 5 breaths on that side, and then switch sides and stretch the other side out. Obviously, we don't want to be lopsided. In any of these IT band stretches, focusing on just like letting the stretch naturally happen, not trying to strain into it too much. The IT band can get irritated, so especially over foam rolling it and then over stretching it, actually an IT band problem can pop up because it's just irritated. So just kind of being mindful of exactly how much stress you're putting on it. So that's my first pose. My second one is a half split or Ardha Hanumanasana with a twist, which also helps get into that. I will keep my block handy so I can show you a modification of that. So to come into that, I'm going to start, a good way to come into it is a low lunge. You can get in a nice stretch through your hip flexors and then shift back so that your hips are stacked over your back knee, and then your front foot will come straight. Foot is flexed, and I'm keeping my back flat, kind of pulling my heart towards my thigh to help stretch the back of my legs. Where the IT band stretch comes in is, I'll show it first with the block, bringing the block beneath my right shoulder, and I'm going to inhale my left arm up. And this is helping to stretch through the outside of my leg. If you're more flexible, you can bring your hand to the mat and come into the same pose. But it's that twist that's allowing the opening through the outside of the leg. And here I'm working to stack my top shoulder over my bottom. I'm trying to keep my hips square, so trying to keep them nice and level, not going too far one way or the other. But again, if you're very tight, you can always take that block under your bottom hand, and that'll make it a little bit more easy to access the twist. So that's a great one. Another one, actually I'm going to stay in my lunge. It's a lunge variation called horizon lunge. So to come into it, start with like a classical low lunge Anjaneyasana, and I'm going to come up on my back toes, stacking my heel over my back toes. I'm going to raise my top arm forward, or say my left foot is forward. I'm raising my left arm forward, coming into like a twisting lunge, and then I'm going to slide my arm back to the side. I'm coming to the knife edge of my right foot, and that's helping me stretch through the outside of my hip too. So again, coming back through it, starting in a low lunge, the same hand that's on the same side as your front foot, inhale it up, let it fall back as you twist over, coming to the knife edge of your foot. And again, that's providing a nice stretch through the side, through the hip, and through the IT band of your front foot. Come back out of that. And again, that's one that you could hold for a few breaths on both sides, stretching out the IT band on both legs. Another one that's a little more of a slightly restorative pose would be a reclined cow face pose. If you watch my videos, you know that I'm a big fan of cow face pose. This is a nice variation of it. So reclined, obviously I'm going to come by, I'm going to start by reclining on my back, and then I'm going to stacking my legs on top of each other. I'm trying to get my knees to stack. If you have super tight hips, you may not be able to do that. You might have to keep a slight overlap in them, or like a space between them. That's totally fine. And I'm just going to grab a hold of my legs. So I may just need to grab towards the knees, or you can grab for your ankles or your feet, whatever is accessible to you in your body. And then I'm just pulling my legs in, and I'm feeling a nice stretch through the outsides of my legs here. And so again, holding this for a few breaths, and then carefully release. Switching sides, stacking the knees again, and pulling in. And again, this is helping to stretch through the IT band and also through some of those hip muscles that like to get tight in the glutes, the piriformis, that sort of thing. So this is a fantastic pose for runners. Every runner should do it. Again, holding for a few seconds, few breaths, same amount on each side. You could go back and repeat on those sides. And then I have one final pose to show you, which is revolved triangle. This one's pretty intense. So if this is too much for your body, you don't have to do it. I'm going to start with my feet. Actually, I want to keep my block handy because this one's pretty intense. Most of you probably need a block. I'm going to bring my feet into like a warrior one position. So my front toes are facing forward. My back foot is a few, maybe a foot, foot and a half behind my front foot. My back toes are put at like a 45-degree angle, so my feet are kind of like this, and my heels are aligned. And what I'm going to do to start is reach tall on an inhale, and I'm going to start in pyramid pose. So my front leg is straight. You can keep a small bend in it if you need to, but working to get it straight. Folding forward with a flat back. And then to come into the twist to open up the outside of the leg, I'm going to grab a block because, again, this is a pretty intense stretch. You're going to bring the block beneath your bottom shoulder. In this case, my left foot's forward, so I'm bringing the block under my right hand, under my right shoulder, and I'm going to inhale my right arm up. I'm working to stack my shoulders, and that block is just helping me reach the mat a little more easily. And this, again, especially if you have an IT band, you're definitely going to feel that along the IT band. If you don't feel it quite as much and you'd like to open, you can always bring your feet further apart, and you can come to a lower block or even bring your hand to the mat. And think about inhaling with, lengthening your spine with every inhale and twisting just a little deeper on the exhale. You also want to focus on keeping your hips square. In this case, my left foot is forward of my right, so I'm going to keep pulling my right hip forward and pulling my left hip back to keep my hips square. And that's also going to help me not only keep good alignment, but it's also helping me to feel the stretch a little bit more in my IT band. So that again is revolved triangle, another really awesome pose for the IT band, stretching all that out.